All right, so good day, class. For today, we'll talk about some selected primary sources in our subject readings in the Philippine history. Last time I told you that I will be sending this earlier, but however, I wasn't able to do the recording of the video. Ngayon ko pa lang siya gagawin. So, sorry for the delay. But again, class, we'll talk about some selected primary sources. Bakit some? Because we will not talk uh, or discuss all of the selected primary sources that I have discussed on your syllabus last time. So we'll only select 5 to 6 primary sources. But take note, class, that this will only be an introduction because you will be the one to read or evaluate these primary sources through some activities that we will be doing uh, face to face. Anyway, first one would be The Customs of the Tagalog by Juan de Plasencia. So I've already sent an activity and maybe you're already finished with this, but okay, let's just discuss some of the highlights of Customs of the Tagalog by Juan de Plasencia. So according to Rizal class, there were two groups of priests who were sent by the Spaniards to come here in the Philippines in the 1500s. So first would be the Franciscan friars, wherein Juan de Plasencia is part of this group, and second one class were the Jesuits. According to Rizal, the Franciscan friars, were the ones who were really connected with the government. They were the ones mentioned on his novels who were doing some bad deeds or like twisting of the teaching of the Bible and some abuses they did to the native Filipinos back then. For the Jesuits, they were the ones who introduce other teachings such as philosophy aside from the teaching of the Christianity as a religion or the teachings of the Bible. Uh, Rizal considered them as the good ones, while the Franciscan friars were regarded by Rizal as the bad ones. Even the characters on his novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, these Franciscan friars were portrayed as the bad ones. So if you remember, Padre Salvi and even Padre Damaso. However, class, we've already mentioned that in history, may mga magandang nangyari at merong hindi magandang nangyari. The group of Juan de Plasencia, they really went into uh, uh, the people in Calabarzon, specifically in Quezon and some nearby provinces, just to learn their culture and their language. Why? Because again, they were mandated to spread Christianity, and maybe that's one of their methods para mas mapadali nila ang kanilang mission back in the Philippines. Okay. Yun class. When they already founded numerous town in Luzon, yun na yung, and after learning the Tagalog language, they were able to uh, produce a book. It's called the Doctrina Christiana. This book talks about uh, the teaching of the Bible, and this is the first book ever printed in the Philippines according to history. Ito class, may dalawang version. It was written in Tagalog and it was also written in Spanish. If napapansin ninyo, hindi ko na masyadong binabasa kung anong content ng ating slide. Maybe I think I've already sent this in your GC. Kayo na ang bahalang magbasa ng mga details na ito. Okay. And also, some of the contents of the customs of the Tagalog were the form of governments before, the marriage customs of the Tagalogs, and what else? The beliefs of the Tagalog people, like yung paniniwala nila kay Bathala. This was already uh, assign as your activity last time and napasa nyo na siya. So, I think alam nyo na siguro ang content ng Customs of the Tagalog. So, next one would be the Raiders of the Sulu Sea. So, for the Spaniards class, the Raiders of the Sulu Sea were likened to pirates. So, we all know class that pirates are the thieves of the sea. So, sila yung mga nagnanakaw sa mga goods in the middle of the sea. So, yun ang description ng mga Spaniards sa mga raiders of the Sulu Sea before. But, according to our Philippine historian class, they are natives of southern Mindanao who fiercely fought against the Spaniards whom at the time colonized the Philippines. So, ayaw nilang magpasakop, kaya that's one of their way daw para tawag doon, kalabanin ang mga Espanyol. So, anyway, Raiders of the Sulusi class, kaya sila tinawag na Raiders because they were involved in slave raiding. What is slave raiding? Yun yung pagkuha ng mga tao na ibebenta as slaves. Okay. So, paano ba nila kinukuha yung mga tao? So, pag kinukuha na nila yung mga tao, they would puncture the palms of those people. So, tawag doon, tutusukin nila, lalagyan nila ng butas yung palms ng mga tao and then para silang gagawing barbecue. And then para lang mapasunod nila. So yun yung ginagawa nila sa slave raiding na ito. And anyway, class, bakit ba merong slave raiding? So these people, they were involved in they call this business in the 1500s, yung slave raiding, yung pagkuha ng mga slave. So binebenta nila ang mga slave na to. So hindi lang Pilipinas ang meron nito before, meron din sa wait lang. They were doing this in some parts of Asia before and then tinitirig nila ito somewhere in the African region. So, hindi lang Muslims ang involved sa ganito before. So, eto, sinasabi dito sa slide na ito, the more people are not really pirates or rebels, but indigenous people. So, we already talked about that a while back. The most celebrated attack was December 8, 1970 attack by King Dalasi. So, King Dalasi was one of the leaders of this native. And eto, the Moro Act was an act of retaliation against the foreign occupier and was sanctioned by the Sultanates in the name of a higher course Islam. So again, balikan lang natin, they wanted to spread Christianity all over the Philippines and that includes Mindanao. But of course, the Moro people doesn't want this to happen. So, yun ang isa sa mga ginawa nila, yung resistance na ginawa nila. Next, Spaniards were concerned about the commercial interests of the region and to propagate Christianity. Okay, na-explain na to before. But, again, there were treaties kung bakit pumunta ang mga Spanish dito sa Pilipinas. One would be gold. So si gold, hindi lang siya tumutukoy sa gold mismo, but also some of the many natural resources of the Philippines. Another would be God. So that's the spread of Christianity and glory. So yun nga, uso noon ang imperialismo wherein gusto nila na mapalawak yung mga teritoryo nila including yung mga kinokolonize nilang bansa. Okay, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Slave raiding was part of the bigger regional trade in the island of Southeast Asia. And six, there were artifacts na meron talagang proof ng that were great distances traveled by the seafarers of Sulu and the trading activities they were involved in. And ito, number seven, the Western colonial ruling and open armed conflicts in the southern region of the Philippines caused the impoverishment of Muslim areas economically and religiously. Okay, so napapansin natin yun, class, in Mindanao, medyo hindi maganda ang buhay ng mga tao doon because, okay, so, eto ang reason, class. So, on the first na ginagawa ng mga slave raiders yung slave raiding, uh, oo, nananalo sila before. But there was a time na natalo sila ng mga Spaniards. Kasi anong ginawa nilang ng mga Spaniards? Kasi, okay, hindi kalimutan kong sabihin, before class, merong mga ships ang mga Muslims noon. So, medyo quality na ang mga ships na ito. So, hindi daw siya, tawag doon, hindi daw siya kayang habulin ng mga Spanish noon. But here comes a time na itong mga Spaniards, they were able to buy yung mas high-end na ships from the British. So, yun, using that ship, natalo nila ang mga slave raiders na ito. So, pinatay din nila yung mga leaders uh, back then. And yun na, because of that, ito na ang nangyari for impoverishment of Muslim areas economically and religious. Next would be ang kartilya ng Katipunan or the Code of Conduct of the Katipunan, KKK. So KKK, Katipunan ng mga, wait lang, mali. Okay, kayo na bahala dyan. But anyway, Kartilya ng Katipunan class was written by Emilio Jacinto on 1892. But who is Emilio Jacinto? So, Emilio Jacinto class, at 20, he joined the revolution, okay, the Katipunan. And eventually, he became the advisor of Andres Bonifacio. Another, naging right hand siya, and he was also treated as a younger sibling by Andres Bonifacio. And another fact, class, is that Emilio Jacinto died early at 24. So hindi siya namatay because of the war, but he died because of malaria. So that's some of the facts about Emilio Jacinto. So here in the slide, it says here, supposedly, the name of the document was Katungkulang Gawain ng mga ZLIB Duties of the Sons of the People. So the original version of the document has 14 paragraphs. It contains the values that a Katipunero should have. So meron siyang meron daw siyang unique discussions of the different aspects of a person's life. One would be yung equality. So, sa paragraph number 4 kabilang yung sa part ng equality clause. And yun, meron din dyan. So, yun, duties of the sons of the people was supposedly was uh, the written guidelines of the Katipunan. Pero yun nga, gumawa si Emilio Jacinto ng mas magandang version. So, bilang kilala naman siya as a brilliant katipunero, so matalino talaga siya, ay yun na yung inadapt ni Andres Bonifacio para gawing guidelines ng kanilang katipunan na group. Next would be the works of Juan Luna. Okay, introduction of Juan Luna. Juan Luna is a national hero, a painter, and also a murderer. Okay, bakit siya murderer? He killed his wife. He also shot his mother-in-law, and the two died, and also shot his brother-in-law. So, luckily, itong brother-in-law niya is nabuhay siya. So, yun. Anong reason kung bakit niya pinatay ang kanyang asawa before? It's because of infidelity daw, class. However, kahit pinatay niya ang kanyang asawa at mother-in-law, he was released daw. He was released from jail. Kasi daw, ang ginawa niya is a crime of passion. Anyway, dako tayo sa kanyang mga works. So, sa second slide, class, ito yung Spoliarium class. So last time, parang ang sinabi ko sa inyo is Spoliarium. So i-check lang natin class, it's Spoliarium. So Spoliarium class, ito yung kanyang painting na kung saan it portrays itong mga gladiators during yung mga Romans noon na ginagawa silang parang manok na pinagsasabong, nagpapatayan kasi it's a form of entertainment for them back then. And according to our Philippine historians, so parang uh, ito daw, itong spoliarium na ginawa ni Juan Luna depicted kung ano yung mga abuse na ginawa ng mga Spaniards before sa mga Filipinos. Sa fourth, meron tayong isa sa mga art ni Juan Luna, yan yung nandyan, The Death of Cleopatra. Ano naman tong Death of Cleopatra? The reason for the Death of Cleopatra is that when she was not able to, tawag doon, to seduce the person or the leader na sumakop sa kanilang lugar sa Egypt noon, nagpakamatay siya. Nagpakamatay siya using a poison made out of a serpent na poisonous siya. And anyway, class, ano pa ba ang meron dyan? Pakibasa na lang itong mga slides na ito sa isinend ko sa inyong GC. Kasi ito, babasahin pa ba natin? So, nanalo daw siya ng won 3 gold medals in the 1884 Exposition Nacional de Bella Artes. What else? De la Muerte de Cleopatra. It also won in the 1881 Exposition Nacional de Bella Artes in Madrid. So both of the works of Luna, the Spoliarium and the Death of Cleopatra is tawag doon, how do we term that? Nanalo siya ng award internationally. Next, Amor Solo. Okay, Fernando Amor Solo. Yan. So, was born in Caliheran. O, yan yung mga, sige, hindi ko na babasahin yan. But Amor Solo class was the first ever recipient of the National Artist Award. So, National Artist Award was supposedly ibibigay din sana siya kay Wang Ord. However, medyo may mga issues si Wang Ord na hindi daw pasado sa qualification ni National Artist kaya hanggang ngayon ay hindi siya ginagawaran nito. And anyway, class, Amor Solo was the first one, the first recipient of the National Artist Award. So, Amor Solo is known sa mga paintings niya about life in the rural areas. So ayun, patalastas lang muna ang mga ingay ng aso, mga manok at pato. Kasi nga nandito tayo sa bukid. But anyway, class, again, si Amor Solo, almost all of his paintings depicted the rural life before. So lahat ng kanyang paintings, class, is mga masasayang ganap sa rural areas or life in the farm. Okay, so yan. Yan, Caliheran studied at the art school of the Liceo de Manila. Okay, so tapos na tayo dyan. Eto. So, because of that class, kasi yung mga paintings niya is mga masasaya lamang in the farm life. Oo naman, masaya naman ang mabuhay sa farm. Pero it received criticism from other people. Why? Because according to them, hindi lang naman daw masaya ang mabuhay sa farm. Because minsan, hindi rin masaya. Because sometimes, class, kasi kung pupunta tayo sa rural areas, medyo madaming kakulangan in terms of government services such as okay, number one would be farm to market road. So, yun yung criticism. Hindi daw naman laging masaya sa life in the farm. Kaya, yun, criticize siya. Another class is that he was also being criticized of his works kasi nga, nakadepende sa mga kliyente niya ang mga gagawin niyang portrait or painting. So, hindi talaga siya ang nagde-decide kung ano yung ipipinta niya, yung mga clients niya. Parang ginawa niya ng money making yung paggawa ng paintings before. But anyway, class, kahit tawag doon, mamamatay-matay na noon itong si Fernando Amorsolo, kasi meron siyang sakit before. So, ang ginawa niya pa rin is nagpinta pa rin siya ng nagpinta. And yun nga, he was able to paint more than or more or less 10,000 pieces over his lifetime. Okay, next. Ay, meron pa pala. So yan, award-winning works of Amor Solo, Word, The Leyendo, Periodico. Yeah, so yun, nanalo din siya as international award. So here are some of his artworks, the making of the Philippine flag, the first baptism in the Philippines, and yun, under the mango tree. Next, the act of the declaration of the Philippine independence. So again, so this happened, the declaration of the Philippine independence happened in Kawit, Cavite in June 12, 1898. So ito rin yung kino-consider natin as the Independence Day of the Philippines. Pero syempre, hindi naman talaga yun yung totoong Independence Day natin, but parang nabanggit ko na sa inyo before to, but okay, dapat July 14 because dun lang tayo na separate from foreign control before yung mga Americans, di ba? But anyway, the act of the declaration, class, is yung papel mismo, a document wherein it was penned or written by Ambrosio Rianzares Bautista, the legal advisor of Aguinaldo. So, ang nilagay niya dito, class, is he narrated here all uh, of the national heroes who fought for the Philippine independence, starting from Lapu-Lapu, and also kay Rizal and other national heroes. But one national hero na hindi niya nilagay sa Act of the Declaration of the Philippine Independence ay si Andres Bonifacio. Bakit kaya? So, kapag trace back natin ang Philippine History class, Emilio Aguinaldo was considered as the traitor of Andres Bonifacio. And allegedly, he was the one na nag-utos para daw patayin si Andres Bonifacio. Anyway, the act was written in Spanish as Acta de la Proclamación de la Independencia del Pueblo Filipino. So, nakasulat siya in Filipino and later translated in English. So, nawala din daw ito, but it was later on found during the centennial celebration of the Philippine independence. So, class, kung gusto nyong bisitahin ang the first place na kung saan winagayway ang watawat ng Pilipinas, visit lang po kayo sa Kawit, Cavite. But meron ding another place somewhere in Cavite na kung saan sinasabi din na unang winagayway ang watawat ng Pilipinas. It's sa ano yon sa Alapan, Imus, Cavite. So meron yung part nila doon na merong napakalaking flag ng Pilipinas. And meron yung time na talagang sineselebrate yung National Flag Day doon. Anyway, last but not the least would be Corazon Aquino's speech before the United States Congress. Okay, so the highlights of her speech was the assassination of her husband, Ninoy Aquino. So Senator Ninoy Aquino. Another is the revolution against Marcos na that led para maging presidente itong si Corazon Aquino. And yon, Aquino also expressed her plans to restore democracy in the Philippines. So, uh, Corazon Aquino is sometimes tagged as the mother of democracy in the Philippines, right? And yun, she also addressed the huge debts of the Marcos administration before. And also, he also relayed her gratitude to the US government for helping the Philippines or assisting the Philippines specifically in the drafting of the 1987 Constitution. And it says here yun nga, Constitution na to, it protects civil rights. But again, ang bida sa kwentong ito ay si Corazon Aquino at ang kontrabida daw ay si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. Again, kung parang in here, parang pinoportray na si Corazon ang may magandang ginawa, si Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ang may hindi magandang ginawa. So if you try to search Google Class, lahat ng makikita ninyo sa Google regarding then President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. ay hawang mga hindi magaganda. So, yun naman yung medyo kailangan nating i-correct that during this time naman is meron naman siyang mga magagandang ginawa because alam mo yung mga sturdy structures or mga infrastructures na nakikita pa rin natin hanggang ngayon, it was a product of the Marcos Senior administration, such as, ano yon yung the Ninoy Aquino International Airport, yung LRT natin, yung mga, what do you call that, mga planta sa Bataan and other places in the Philippines. And with the assistance of her wife, na-built din or na-build din ang lung, lung Center of the Philippines, yung ano pa yun, yung Kidney Transplant Center in the Philippines, and also the Cultural Center of the Philippines, and many other important establishments na ginagamit pa rin ng Pilipinas hanggang ngayon. Okay, so that's some of the selected primary sources na inintroduce ko sa inyo. So sa inyong mga activities class, kayo na ang mismong magbabasa ng mga content ng mga primary sources na ito. And then of course, you are going to evaluate kung kung makatotohanan ba or hindi ang mga primary sources na ito. So ano pa bang sasabihin ko? So maybe that's all for now, class. Thank you so much for listening to this video presentation. Again, I'm very sorry kung medyo maingay sa paligid ko kasi nandito ako ngayon sa bukid nila. Anyway, goodbye class and again, thank you for listening.